which was in the exams and sums, you know, if an ambulance was travelling at 30 mile an hour, how far would it go and such, well that never entered my head, but I managed to get the results I wanted and I was told I can go in the fire service, so, and I did play for England Fire Service, so, you know, we had some lovely games, Scotland and Switzerland, oh yeah, I did, I had some lovely times, and that was, you know, I had the name. You see, I didn't want people to do things just because of my name, but I did have like a good name, if you can understand what I mean, and it sport me in a sense, because if I wanted a car, don't get me wrong, I had to pay for it, but I wasn't sold a bum of a car, you know, it was a good car. If I wanted it serviced, that were all done free, because I can give them the odd ticket or two to come over here, because everybody I knew obviously was football supporters, wasn't they? So life was absolutely brilliant for me, and still is, and I mean still is. Then people say, what? I never got rich staying in Cambridge, but I didn't know what it was to want a penny. You know, I managed to get by everything, and everything I had, I earned. You know, I've never been without a job. I mean, look what court. Can you imagine asking an old boy now, there's 2 jobs in your life, mate. What do you want to be, a footballer and a fireman? Yes, wouldn't he? He'd obviously say that. Crikey.
Yeah.
Blimey.
Just one little question from, I'd like to say, how did you get on with Bill Cassidy?
Oh, Bill's all right.
Was he?
Yeah, Bill.
He was always my favourite, as I mentioned earlier.
I tell you what, he scored some bloody good goals for us.
Yeah.
He did, mate. I tell you what, when him and Peter Leggett, he was another good lad, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You see, all them was good signings.
And Tony Butcher,
another one who scored a lot of goals. Yeah, and then there was 2 boys that came from Guildford, Bennett and Barrett. That's it.
The 2 Daves, yeah.
Yeah, you see that when you weighed up, I know that when I came to Cambridge, he promised me a house and this and that, because I was just getting married, and then when I got here and signed, I hadn't got a house, and I said, you promised me a house, Alan. Well, I didn't say Alan, I said Mr. Wall. And he said, yes, you'll get one. But anyway, he promised 3 of us the same house round Elfrida Road, so I don't know how 3 families are going to live in it. But eventually they found me this one here, 551, just 4 doors up, which I stayed for 5.5 years, and then this one was coming up, and the man came to me and he said, I understand you want to stay this side of the bridge, Rodney. I said, I don't know how you know that, but you're quite right. And he said, I'm selling my house. And I didn't go through the stage. And I went down to the Halifax, 4 of us, 4 footballers, went down to the Halifax for a mortgage. And guess what? I was the only one that they let have one. The other 3 come out eventually, and I came out, and I'd heard one of them, they refused Boggy. Anyway, they refused the other 3, and they give me, and they let me have one.
Oh,
so let's be fair, there must have been, yeah, Brian Boggy, they wouldn't give him one. You see, footballers, we were like jockeys, you see, it was like we wasn't allowed motorbikes, because we was, insurance on our car, we was come into the class of jockeys, you know, near Newmarket. So how high the payments was, we had to pay the same. Footballers, when we weren't never allowed a motorbike, well, that's obviously in your book. When I was at Leicester and QPR, you weren't allowed motorbikes. But
and Gordon Banks, what was he like?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can remember, used to be a comedian on the television that had a cigarette in his mouth, and he used to make out he was drunk. Was it Jimmy J? No.
Jimmy.
Was it? It was something. Anyway, Banksy could come in and he could take him off. He was brilliant. And we used to do a lot of pre-season training in a park called Bradgate Park, which is just on the outskirts of Leicester. It's near the M1 actually. You can see Bradgate Park when you go up the M1. And we used to do a lot every day that we'd meet in Bradgate Park. And anyway, I can remember one day, for instance, with Banksy, and one day the trainer, who was the Scottish international trainer, Alec Dowdles, was our trainer. And he said, right, every one of you all got to devise a exercise. Oh, I said, all right, yeah, all right, Alex, all right, you know. Anyway, everybody had to bring up an exercise, you know, down and all this and that. And then come to Banks and he said, right, everybody down. So we all got down. Lay on your backs, feet out stretched. Eyelids raised, closed. That was the exercise. He was bloody boring. But because he was the England goalkeeper, he got away with it, you see. And that sort of it was really good fun, and he was very good. And I used to babysit. For him in Ursa. He married a German girl, and I used to babysit. I saw him not long ago, and you know, had a meal with him, and I used to. Because Josie was living at Fassett near Peterborough. I hadn't got nothing to do at nights, and I used to go and babysit for him and another boy who was captain of Leicester, Len Chalmers. He broke his leg in the cup final. Len was the one who broke his leg. I used to just babysit for them two. I used to look, but Banksy, he'd either give me something or I didn't ask for anything. If you give me 2 or 3 quid, you got to remember 2 or 3 quid, that bought me a lot of fags in them days. But I loved it, absolutely loved it. They don't know they're born today, and I've told them this to their face, some of them. They don't know they're born. They're getting good bloody money, and I had to put half the money towards my pair of boots. I bet they don't have to put no money towards their football boots.
And when you're an apprentice, you have to clean the players' boots, don't you?
I used to do, but in my day, there wasn't such a thing as apprentice. It was what they call ground staff duties, and there was 5 of us. Me, Frank McClintock, you know Frank. There was me. This was at Leicester. There was me, Frank McClintock, and 3 other lads. There were 5 of us on the ground staff, and like in the summer, we had to sieve all the earth and that for the groundsman to reseed the Filbert Street. Well, it's not there now, Filbert Street, but Filbert Street, and I only trained 2 mornings, me and Frank McClintock. That's what we had, and we had to sweep the stands after match days with the old age pensioners, which I am now, but in them days and I was only allowed to train Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings, and I was in my glory if, for instance, Banks had got a bit of a knock or just a little bruise, and they'd say, right, Rodney, come on. Oh, I could whack me bloody brush down. I used to fly down the stand. You're in goal, because in those days they did a lot of first team versus reserves, because like I said to you, they had 14, 50 players in the club. Nowadays you've got 25 to 30, and that's your most. But in my day, you could have reserves taking the first team, you see, and I used to go in goal, and I remember the first time I went in goal, Arthur Rowley, he still, if you look in the Guinness Book of Records, he still holds the number of goals, highest number of goals in the league, Arthur Rowley, and I didn't know either that he'd got the strongest shot in football either. And and anyway, to cut the story short, we've been playing about 10 minutes and they had a penalty, and Arthur was like a big baby, a big bloke he was, but he was a big baby, you know. If the ball was just about to go over the line, he wouldn't, and you put it in, you know, you put it, and it was going to be your goal, and it was probably your first goal you'd score. Oh, he wouldn't have that, he'd kick the bloody thing in. That's why he was leading goal scorer in the Guinness Book of Records, you see. Anyway, he hit this bloody penalty that day, and I happened to go the right way. But you see, I'd been told and brought up that when you catch the ball in your tummy, you breathe in, see? So of course I studied goal like this. I thought, oh, I love this, I love this. Anyway, he hit it with his left foot, and I'd seen him I knew where he'd put it, and I dived across, and it hit my chest, right, this is the truth, it hit my chest. I never had a chance to get my hands around it, but I saved it it hit my chest, it went back out towards the halfway line, and I finished up that much over the goal line. That's how it hurt me, yeah, and I never went Like that, it nearly broke me chest.
That was with the old laced balls or something.
Yeah, and all. Yeah, whether that hit me, I don't know, but they hit me here, man, alive, and that bounced back, and that went over the 18-yard line, like that, and I finished up that much. And they all kept saying, "Save, Slaggy! Good save, Slaggy!" I couldn't talk. I'd lost my breath. Yeah, I was always, see, and that's another thing, you see, he wasn't too big because he was in the goalkeeper. After training, he'd say, "Right, come on, Rod." He wouldn't ask the older pros, goalkeepers, Johnny Anderson, who played for Scotland. He didn't want to ask them. He'd say, "Right, Rod," and I'd say, "Can I go?" And they'd say, "Yes." And I'd go out there and we'd have a ball of string, and we'd go out and we'd put it like a nail, as long as we didn't leave the nails there. We used to put a nail in the ground, and we used to go around, you know, like you would, what do you call them, your tractors or sort of, you know, them things you have plastic now, don't you? I don't know. But anyway, what people have who do drawings and that. And we used to have to go around, and that's how I got my angles. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And we used to go with this piece of string and say, "Right, if he's coming from this angle, this is where you're going to be, like at the end of the string." And we used to go from the goal line all the way around the 18-yard box. And that's why, I shouldn't say it myself, but there wasn't many better than me one-on-one. I'm talking about one player onto the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You know, I always give myself a chance of saving it. You know, and then you said earlier on in the conversation about going down at the feet, similar thing. But I very rarely got done when it was only when he come through. Jimmy Greaves made a fool of me at Chelsea, because that's another thing, Banksy, we've been brought up to, when they're coming through with only you to beat, your best side, which was my right side, your best side, leave the biggest gap on your right side, right, for him to take it.
Oh, I see, yeah.
See, because that was my best side. And I'd done that, didn't I? I showed him my right side, Jimmy Greaves, and what did he do? Stuck it in the left-hand side, made me look a right brat. So, but that was, you know, you know. Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much for
thank you.
coming. It's been a dry morning for you, isn't it?
No, I don't. That's great, thank you. That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Well, you'll have a job to make anything out of what I've said, but never
Oh,
mind.